Welcome to the Cinnabar and Cinnabar Gunworks here in beautiful Lake County, Oregon. Now, I just wanted to do a quick update on the status of Oregon's Measure 114, that strict gun control measure that was passed by the voters and is scheduled to become law here in 3 days, on Thursday, December 8th. We're doing this episode on Monday the 5th. Now, there's been a lot happen since I initially did an episode on this gun control measure. As I predicted, and I think pretty much everybody who's been following predicted, there's been litigation, lawsuits filed questioning the constitutionality of this measure. As of now, there are 4 lawsuits filed in the federal court system, and I read there's another going through the state court system as well. There's been a myriad of organizations and businesses and individuals who have signed on to these lawsuits. It got the ball rolling with the Oregon Firearms Foundation. Some of the Eastern Oregon rural county sheriffs signed on to that, a gun store owner, and there's been several gun store owners who have joined with some of these lawsuits. Mazama Sporting Goods over in Eugene, Sportsman's Warehouse I think is involved in at least 1 and maybe 2 of these lawsuits. We've got the Second Amendment Foundation, the FPC or Firearms Policy Coalition, National Shooting Sports Foundation, and a bunch of others that have signed on with these 4 suits. And they've all been assigned to a federal judge in Portland by the name of Karen Emmerger. Now, she is a former Democrat, a former independent, and has for several years been a Republican, was nominated to the bench by the Trump administration. So you can read into that whatever you'd like. But she had a hearing on Friday to make a decision on whether to grant an injunction against this measure becoming law. And a couple of these suits were filed just before this hearing, so they weren't involved, but the first 2 suits had representatives there, or the first 2 organizations, and then the Oregon Attorney General's office had a representative there as well to argue that the measure should become law here on Thursday. Now, one of the things that came up is that the Oregon Attorney General's office representative there was asked if the permit process would be in place when the law took effect on Thursday the 8th. And he answered yes, to basically a chorus of laughter in the courtroom, because I don't think anybody in their right mind believes that the permitting process will be in place. Now, over the weekend, and the judge had not made a ruling on Friday, said that she would make this ruling either on Monday or Tuesday. So either today or tomorrow the judge is supposed to make a ruling. So the Attorney General's office, I think they got to thinking about what they had said there in front of the judge, and that it really wasn't going to be possible to get that permit system in place. So they came out with a letter to the judge on Sunday and a press release that went along with it, asking that just the permitting portion of the measure not become law for another couple of months into February, and I assume that would mean February 8th will be 2 months from when the law was supposed to take effect on December 8th. Now, so basically I think they saw the handwriting on the wall that they had been untruthful to the judge, and it wasn't going to go well when the 8th came by, and they weren't even close to having this in place, the permitting process. So they've asked to pull that portion out, but go ahead and let all the other parts of the measure become law on the 8th, including, let's see, this is from their press release. The other parts of the measure should take effect as scheduled, including the process for applying for permits, the restriction on large capacity magazines, and the requirement that background checks must be completed. Now, of course, Oregon's had universal background checks for years. I don't know why they keep portraying this as something new that's come up with this measure. But they've added on to that. And here we go. The checks must be completed and not just requested before firearms can be transferred. And in parentheses it says, this fixes the Charleston loophole, a gap in federal system that allows a gun sale to proceed after 3 days even if the background check has not been completed. So they're asking the judge to go ahead and let everything else go, but then they want to change Oregon law to say now that if they don't give you an answer in 3 days, which is federal law, that the FFL can go ahead and release the firearms. And a lot of FFLs in Oregon are releasing them after 3 days, especially to concealed carry permit holders who obviously don't have a criminal record, or they wouldn't have their concealed carry license. So they're wanting to make sure that that can't happen anymore. So if their system is backed up and they're not given answers in 3 days, you can't get your firearm. And the reason for that is because they're hopelessly overwhelmed. As of last Friday, there were 41,000 background checks still in the queue, backed up, waiting to be processed, and I'm sure it's grown over the weekend. So, they've just created a horrible mess here, and now they're going to the judge and trying to basically influence her not to grant this injunction, because we'll pull that portion out of it, and that maybe you don't like very much, and just let the others proceed. So we'll find out what the judge says either this afternoon or tomorrow, hopefully, unless something else comes up, and we'll keep you informed. But as of now, that's where things stand, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed and keep hoping for the best, and keep hoping that freedom wins. Until next time, happy trails from the Cinnabar.